She thought she demarried a broke cowboy, until he took her to his hidden mountain estate. It was a quiet morning in the small town of Willow Creek, a place where everyone knew everyone else, and life moved at a gentle, predictable pace. The streets were lined with old oak trees that swayed slowly in the soft breeze, and the smell of fresh bread often floated from the little bakery on Main Street. Among the town's residents was Emily Parker, a young woman in her mid-20s with a heart full of hope and a mind full of dreams. She lived a simple life, working at the local library, where the scent of old books and polished wood made her feel calm and safe. Her days were routine but comfortable, and she often wondered if something unexpected might enter her life someday. Emily was practical and grounded. She believed in working hard, being honest, and finding joy in the little things. A cup of coffee in the morning, the laughter of children in the park, and the warmth of family dinners on Sundays. But despite her contentment, she couldn't help but feel that life was missing a certain spark, a sense of adventure beyond the borders of Willow Creek. She often imagined traveling to faraway places, experiencing new cultures, and meeting people who would change the way she saw the world. Little did she know that change was about to arrive in the most unexpected form. A man who seemed ordinary on the surface, but carried a secret that would redefine everything she thought she knew about love, life, and happiness. It was during the town's annual rodeo festival that Emily first noticed him. The fairgrounds were alive with energy, with children laughing as they rode on the carousel, the smell of popcorn and cotton candy hanging in the air, and the sound of country music filling every corner. Amid the excitement, a group of cowboys was preparing for the next event, a horse riding competition. One cowboy in particular caught Emily's eye. He was tall and strong, with tanned skin from long hours under the sun and eyes that held a calm intensity. His name was James McAllister, a man who carried himself with confidence but not arrogance, a gentle charm that seemed effortless. Emily had always admired people who worked with their hands, who knew the value of hard work and discipline. James fit that description perfectly. As he mounted his horse with practiced ease, the crowd cheered, but Emily found herself watching him more intently than anyone else. There was something about the way he moved, the quiet strength in his posture, that made him seem both capable and kind. When the competition began, James rode with skill and precision, guiding his horse through each obstacle as if he and the animal shared a secret understanding. Emily couldn't take her eyes off him, and when the ride ended with the crowd applauding, she felt a strange flutter in her chest, a feeling she had never experienced before. Their first conversation happened by chance. Emily had wandered near the stables, curious about the horses and the cowboys who cared for them. She noticed James brushing his horse with careful attention, speaking to it softly as if it could understand every word. Summoning her courage, she approached him. "Your horse seems very happy," she said, smiling. James looked up, his eyes meeting hers, and a small, polite smile formed on his face. "She's a good girl," he replied warmly. "Takes a lot of patience to work with a horse like her. I'm James." "Emily," she said, extending her hand. "I love how calm you are with her. It's impressive." He chuckled, a low, pleasant sound that made Emily's heart skip. "Thanks. Horses have a way of teaching you patience, I guess, and sometimes people too," he said with a wink. That simple conversation sparked a connection between them. Over the next few days of the festival, Emily found herself seeking James out. They talked about everything, her love for books and quiet mornings, his passion for ranch work and the outdoors. Emily was drawn to his sincerity, the way he listened without judgment, the ease with which he shared stories of his life growing up on a ranch not far from Willow Creek. He spoke of early mornings, long days in the sun, and the satisfaction of earning a living with his own hands. To Emily, it was honest, beautiful, and real. As the festival ended, neither wanted the connection to fade. They began spending more time together, walking along the riverbanks, sharing simple meals at the town diner, and talking under the stars. Emily learned that James wasn't wealthy. He lived modestly, working multiple jobs to maintain his small ranch and care for his family. Yet he never complained. Instead, he shared stories of joy in hard work, the peace that came from being self-reliant, and the value of community. Emily admired his dedication and felt her heart growing fonder with each passing day. Their courtship was slow and steady, built on shared laughter, trust, and genuine affection. James would leave little notes for Emily, tucked inside her favorite books at the library, or surprise her with wildflowers picked from the fields near the town. Emily, in turn, would bake him his favorite apple pies or listen patiently as he recounted stories from his childhood, full of adventures and lessons learned. They discovered a rhythm together, a harmony that felt rare and precious. Despite the simplicity of their lives, Emily began to dream of a future with James. She imagined a small home on the outskirts of town, children playing in a yard surrounded by oak trees, and evenings spent by the fireplace, talking about the day's events. She felt safe and loved, yet there was a quiet curiosity within her, a sense that James carried parts of his life he had not yet revealed. He was private, reserved about his personal finances, and occasionally disappeared for a day or two with vague explanations. Emily never pressed him, trusting that his silence was part of his nature, not a sign of deceit. As months passed, their bond deepened. Friends and family began to notice their closeness, often commenting on how perfectly they seemed to complement each other. Emily's parents, while initially cautious about her dating a cowboy with modest means, soon grew fond of James. They admired his respect for Emily, his humility, and his unwavering determination. Emily herself felt a sense of peace she had never known before. She was in love, and more importantly, she felt that she was loved in return, truly and sincerely. One cool autumn evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, James and Emily walked along the river, the water reflecting the colors of the sky like liquid fire. James stopped, took her hands in his, and looked deeply into her eyes. "Emily," he said softly, "I know life hasn't been perfect, and I'm not the richest man in the world, but I promise you this. I will spend every day making you happy, loving you honestly, and being the man you deserve." Emily's heart swelled with emotion. She had hoped for someone kind and genuine, but his words were more than she had imagined. "James," she whispered, "I don't care about money or wealth. I care about you, who you are, and the life we can build together." That night, under a sky full of stars, James proposed in the simplest way possible. No grand gestures, no expensive rings or fancy dinners, just two hearts, honest and open, promising to face life together. Emily said yes, tears of joy streaming down her face. It was perfect not because of extravagance, but because it was real. In the weeks that followed, they planned a modest wedding, inviting only family and close friends. The ceremony was held in a small chapel surrounded by fields, with wildflowers decorating the altar. Emily wore a simple white dress, her hair adorned with fresh blossoms, while James donned his best suit, his hat resting lightly on the pew beside him. They exchanged vows they had written themselves, promises that spoke of loyalty, honesty, and unwavering love. Life as a newlywed was simple but happy. They moved into James's small ranch house, a cozy place with creaking wooden floors and a porch that overlooked the fields. Emily learned the routines of ranch life, helping with chores when she could, while James taught her how to care for the animals and tend to the land. They laughed when things went wrong, when the chickens escaped, or when the cow got stuck in the mud, and celebrated small victories together. Yet, beneath the surface of this idyllic life, Emily sometimes noticed subtle mysteries. James occasionally received letters from unknown senders, or he would take trips she couldn't fully understand. He spoke fondly of people she had never met, mentioned towns she had never heard of, and sometimes had small luxuries she couldn't explain. Emily brushed these thoughts aside, telling herself that love required trust, and she had chosen to trust him completely. As the months went on, the love between them grew stronger. Emily felt a deep connection she had never experienced before, a bond built on shared experiences, laughter, and quiet moments of understanding. She admired James not for what he had, but for who he was, a man of integrity, strength, and kindness. And yet the tiny hints of mystery lingered in her mind, whispering that there was more to James than met the eye. Little did Emily know, the life she had embraced, the simple, hardworking, honest life with her cowboy, was only the beginning. Beneath the rugged exterior and humble lifestyle lay secrets that would soon reveal a side of James she could never have imagined. Secrets that would test her trust, her patience, and ultimately, her understanding of what it truly meant to love someone. For now, though, she was content. She was married to a man she adored, living a life she loved, and dreaming of a future filled with hope. The sun set behind the hills, casting long shadows across the fields, and Emily held James's hand, feeling the warmth of his presence. In that moment, nothing else mattered. The world was quiet, safe, and beautiful, and she felt that her life had finally begun in the way she had always dreamed. Life on the ranch was peaceful, but it was also full of hard work. Emily quickly realized that being a cowboy's wife was not just about enjoying the wide, open fields and fresh air. It meant rising early, helping with chores, and understanding the rhythms of the land. Each morning, she would wake to the sound of roosters crowing and the soft whinnying of horses. James was always up before her, tending to the animals, checking the fences, and making sure the ranch ran smoothly. At first, Emily struggled with the pace, but she admired James's dedication and found herself enjoying the simple satisfaction of contributing. She loved the mornings, the quiet hours when the sky was painted with soft colors and the world seemed still. Sometimes she would walk through the fields, feeling the cool dew on her bare feet, and watch James work with a sense of pride. He was patient with her as she learned the ropes, teaching her how to feed the animals, repair fences, and even ride the horses properly. Emily appreciated his guidance, but she also noticed how careful he was to never make her feel incapable. He was gentle, encouraging, and always quick to praise her efforts, which made her feel valued and loved. Despite the happiness of their new life, Emily soon realized that the ranch had its challenges. Money was tight, and there were bills to pay, equipment to repair, and unexpected expenses that seemed to appear out of nowhere. Sometimes the roof leaked during a rainstorm or a tractor broke down, and Emily would find herself worrying about how they would manage. She would bring these worries to James, hoping to find reassurance, but he often brushed them aside with a smile and a promise that everything would work out. "We'll figure it out, Emily," he would say, his eyes warm and steady. "We always do." Even though she trusted him, Emily could not shake the small unease that occasionally crept into her mind. She had imagined that life with James would be simple, yes, but she had not realized how often practical concerns would weigh on her. She wanted to trust him completely, but there were moments when she wondered if she had married a man who simply could not provide the stability she had hoped for. Friends and family, though supportive, would sometimes make comments that added to her doubts. "You know he's just a cowboy, right?" one friend would tease. "Don't expect him to have much saved." Emily would smile politely, but inside she couldn't help feeling a sting of worry. At the same time, there were strange little things that didn't make sense. Occasionally, James would receive letters from people she had never met, or he would make trips to towns she had never heard of. Sometimes he would return with small gifts or items that seemed expensive, and when Emily asked where they came from, he would simply smile and say, "Just friends helping out." He never explained further, and Emily didn't press too hard, trusting that there were reasons she didn't understand. Yet the mystery lingered in the back of her mind, a quiet whisper that something about James was not quite what it seemed. Despite these doubts, Emily's love for James continued to grow. She loved the way he laughed, the way he cared for the animals, and the way he treated her with constant respect and kindness. She admired his honesty in other areas of life, the way he never exaggerated, the way he always tried to do the right thing, and the way he valued people for who they were, not what they had. Emily often reminded herself that love was about trust, and she trusted James with all her heart. Still, curiosity sometimes gnawed at her, especially when she noticed inconsistencies in the little things he did. One evening, as they sat on the porch after a long day of work, Emily finally decided to voice her concerns. The sky was painted with streaks of pink and gold, and the air smelled of fresh earth and hay. She turned to James, taking a deep breath. "James, can I ask you something?" she said softly. "Of course," he replied, setting down his cup of tea. His eyes were calm, inviting her to speak freely. "I know you work hard and provide everything we need, but sometimes I feel like there are things you're not telling me," Emily admitted. "Little things that don't make sense. The trips you take, the gifts that appear, the letters you get. I don't mean to doubt you, but it makes me wonder if I really know everything about your life." James looked at her for a moment, his expression unreadable. Then he reached out and took her hand in his. "Emily, I understand why you feel that way," he said gently. "There are parts of my life I haven't shared yet, not because I want to hide anything from you, but because I wanted to make sure our love was genuine. I wanted you to love me for who I am, not for what I have." Emily's heart fluttered. His words were reassuring, but they also made her more curious. She nodded slowly, deciding to trust him, even though her mind was filled with questions. "I do love you, James. I love you for who you are. I just sometimes wish I understood everything about your life." He smiled softly. "In time you will, I promise. For now, let's enjoy what we have and take each day as it comes." As the weeks passed, Emily tried to focus on the life they were building together. She enjoyed learning new skills on the ranch, from milking cows to planting vegetables in the small garden James had created. She found joy in the rhythm of daily life, the satisfaction of a chore well done, the laughter they shared over small mistakes, and the quiet comfort of knowing she was loved. Yet the small hints of mystery never completely disappeared. Emily noticed how James seemed to know things she could not explain. He would talk about places she had never been, mention people who seemed important in his life but whom she had never met, and occasionally reference events that didn't fit with the modest lifestyle he displayed. Sometimes she would catch him gazing into the distance with a thoughtful look, as if remembering something he couldn't share yet. She felt a mixture of intrigue and frustration, wanting to know, but also respecting his wish to keep some things private. One particularly difficult day, a sudden storm hit the ranch. Rain poured down in heavy sheets, wind rattled the windows, and Emily watched as the river near the property began to rise. Panic rose in her chest as she realized the small creek could overflow, endangering the animals. James worked tirelessly, securing the animals, checking fences, and making sure everything was safe. Emily helped as best as she could, her hands raw and sore from the work. By the end of the day, drenched and exhausted, they finally returned to the house. Sitting by the fire, Emily couldn't help but speak her mind. "James, I sometimes worry that we're barely keeping up," she said quietly. "I love this life, I really do, but I can't help wondering how we manage all of this on such a small income. What if something bigger comes up, something we can't handle?" James took her hands in his once more, his touch warm and steady. "Emily, I know it seems difficult, but we are stronger than we think. Life on the ranch isn't easy, but together we can handle anything. And remember, it's not always about money. It's about love, patience, and working as a team. That's what makes a life worth living." Emily felt reassured, but a tiny seed of doubt still lingered. She couldn't explain why certain things about James didn't add up, but she told herself that perhaps some secrets were meant to remain hidden for now. She loved him deeply, and love required trust, even when it was hard to understand. As the months turned into a year, Emily became more comfortable with the rhythms of ranch life. She learned to ride horses confidently, manage the animals, and handle unexpected challenges. She and James shared countless moments of laughter, quiet evenings by the fire, and mornings filled with the soft glow of dawn. Their bond grew stronger, built on mutual respect, shared experiences, and an understanding that life, though imperfect, could be beautiful when faced together. Yet, the mystery of James's past and the unexplained hints of hidden wealth remained in the back of Emily's mind. There were moments when she noticed small luxuries she hadn't expected, an expensive bottle of wine, a perfectly tailored coat, or a gesture that seemed too thoughtful for someone of modest means. She would catch James glancing at her with a knowing smile, but when she asked, he would simply shrug and say, "Just a gift from a friend." Emily struggled with her curiosity. She wanted to trust him completely, and she knew she should, but the questions kept coming. Who were these friends? Why did he receive these gifts? And why did he seem so comfortable with luxuries while living such a simple life? She decided to be patient, telling herself that one day she would understand. In the meantime, she focused on the love they shared and the life they were building together. One evening, as they sat under the stars, James spoke softly. "Emily, I know there are things about me you don't understand yet," he said. "I promise that when the time is right, you'll know everything. But for now, I want you to trust me. Trust that I love you and that I've always wanted the best for us." Emily looked into his eyes, feeling the sincerity in his voice. She nodded slowly, deciding to let go of her doubts for the moment. She would wait, trusting that James would reveal his secrets when the time was right. For now, she would focus on the happiness they shared, the life they were building, and the love that grew stronger with each passing day. Life continued on the ranch, full of challenges and joys, laughter and hard work. Emily learned to find beauty in simplicity, to appreciate the quiet moments, and to cherish the love she shared with James. And though the mystery of his past lingered, she felt a sense of hope and excitement, knowing that their journey together was far from over. Emily had grown accustomed to the rhythm of life on the ranch. She loved the quiet mornings, the long afternoons spent caring for animals, and the evenings when she and James would sit together on the porch, watching the sun dip behind the hills. Life was simple, peaceful, and full of love, yet a tiny part of her mind was never fully at rest. James had always been careful about certain things, and there were moments when she noticed hints that he was not quite what he seemed. One crisp morning, as Emily fed the chickens, James approached her with a wide smile. "Emily," he said, brushing hay from his coat, "I have a little surprise for you this weekend, something special, just you and me." Emily paused, curiosity sparking in her chest. "A surprise?" "What kind of surprise?" she asked, trying to hide the excitement in her voice. "You'll see," James replied, winking. "It's a place I think you'll really enjoy. It's private, peaceful, a little adventure just for us." Emily's heart fluttered. She loved adventures, especially when they involved James. She trusted him completely, and the excitement of discovering something new together made her smile. "I can't wait," she said, trying to guess what the surprise could be. A new trail in the mountains, a hidden lake. She had no idea, and the mystery made her even more eager. The weekend arrived, and James prepared the horses and their supplies for the journey. Emily helped pack a small picnic, careful to include all the little things she thought would make their trip perfect: sandwiches, fresh fruit, and a bottle of lemonade. The morning sun cast a golden glow over the ranch as they set out, the air crisp and filled with the scent of pine and earth. They rode together through winding mountain trails, the horses' hooves softly thudding against the dirt path. Emily felt a sense of freedom she had never known, the kind that only comes from being surrounded by nature, and the one person who made her feel completely safe. They talked quietly as they rode, sharing stories and laughter, enjoying the sound of the wind rustling through the trees. After a few hours, the trail opened up to a clearing. Emily stopped in her tracks, her eyes widening in disbelief. Before her stood a magnificent estate, hidden deep in the mountains, surrounded by towering trees and flowering gardens. The house was grand, elegant, and unlike anything she had ever imagined. It had large windows that reflected the sunlight, a wide stone staircase leading to the entrance, and a perfectly manicured lawn stretching out in every direction. Emily turned to James, unable to hide her shock. "James, this is amazing." "I had no idea." Her voice trailed off as she looked around, taking in every detail. James smiled gently. "I wanted to show you this when the time was right," he said. "I've always had this place. It's been my family's home for years, though I've chosen to live simply here in Willow Creek. I wanted our love to grow without any distractions, without money or luxury influencing it. I wanted you to love me for me." Emily's mind raced. She felt a mix of emotions: astonishment, confusion, admiration, and even a small sting of betrayal. She had always believed that James was modest, living a life of hard work with limited means. And yet here he was, standing before her, revealing a secret world of wealth and luxury she had never dreamed existed. She walked slowly through the gardens, her fingers brushing against the soft petals of the flowers. Everything was so perfect, so carefully tended, that it felt almost like stepping into a dream. "James, why didn't you tell me?" she asked softly, looking into his eyes. "I wanted to," he said, his voice calm and steady, "but I needed to be sure. I wanted you to choose me, Emily, not my estate, not my wealth, not the life I could offer in material things. I wanted to know that your love was real." Emily felt tears welling in her eyes. She had always loved James for his kindness, his honesty, and the way he made her feel safe. She had never thought about wealth or possessions, and yet the revelation made her feel a strange mixture of relief and confusion. Relief because she now understood the mysterious hints she had noticed: the trips, the gifts, the letters from unknown people. Confusion because she had built her understanding of James around the idea that he was a simple, modest man. James took her hand and led her inside the estate. The interior was as breathtaking as the exterior: high ceilings, polished wooden floors, and furniture that spoke of elegance and comfort. Paintings adorned the walls, each one carefully chosen, and the aroma of fresh flowers filled the rooms. Emily could hardly believe her eyes. She had never imagined that James lived a life so different from the one he had shown her. As they explored the house, James explained more about the estate. "This place has been in my family for generations. I've always loved it, but I wanted to live simply for a while. Not everyone values money or comfort, and I wanted to make sure we valued love above all else." Emily listened, her mind slowly absorbing the reality of the situation. She realized that James had not lied to her. He had simply withheld certain truths to protect the authenticity of their relationship. He had chosen to live humbly, not because he lacked resources, but because he wanted their love to be genuine. They reached a terrace overlooking the mountains, the view stretching out for miles. Emily stood in awe, feeling the cool breeze on her face and the warmth of James's hand in hers. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. "You don't have to say anything," James replied, his eyes soft and kind. "Just know that I love you and that this life, this place, it's all yours too if you want it." Emily felt a wave of emotions. She thought about the months they had spent together, the life they had built on the ranch, and the love they had shared. She realized that James's intentions had always been pure, that he had wanted her to love him for who he was, not for the wealth he could offer. Her heart swelled with admiration and gratitude. They spent the rest of the day exploring the estate together, discovering rooms filled with books, artwork, and treasures collected over generations. Emily marveled at the attention to detail, the beauty of every corner, and the sense of history that seemed to breathe from the walls. James explained that he had chosen to keep this place private, away from the world, because it gave him peace and a sense of connection to his family's past. As evening fell, they sat by a fireplace, the room glowing with warmth and comfort. Emily finally allowed herself to speak openly about her feelings. "James, I have to admit, I was confused at first. I thought I understood everything about you, but this is beyond anything I imagined." James smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I know it's a lot to take in," he said gently, "but I wanted you to see the truth, not just the surface of my life. I wanted you to know that love, trust, and honesty are what matter most." Emily nodded, feeling a sense of peace wash over her. She realized that the man she had fallen in love with, the kind, patient, and honest cowboy, was still the same person she knew. The wealth and luxury were just additions to the life they could now share, not the foundation of their love. They talked long into the night, sharing dreams for the future, hopes for their life together, and plans for the adventures they would have. Emily felt a deep sense of connection, a bond strengthened by trust and understanding. She realized that James had chosen to reveal this secret not to control her, but to show her the depth of his love and the honesty at the heart of their relationship. By the time they retired to the master bedroom, Emily's heart was full. She understood that life could be more than she had ever imagined, but the most important part of that life was the love she shared with James. She had learned that true love was not about wealth or appearances, but about trust, patience, and choosing each other every day. As she drifted off to sleep that night, Emily felt a sense of gratitude and wonder. She had married a man who seemed simple and modest, only to discover that he carried a hidden world of beauty and abundance. And yet, it did not change the essence of who he was. James was still the same man she had fallen in love with, the man who had captured her heart with his kindness, honesty, and unwavering love. In that moment, Emily understood something important. Life was full of surprises, and sometimes the truth was far more extraordinary than anything she could have imagined. She had thought she knew James completely, but now she realized that love was not about knowing everything at once. It was about trusting, growing together, and embracing the unexpected with an open heart. The hidden mountain estate was more than a home. It was a symbol of the life they could build together, a life filled with love, adventure, and the kind of happiness that comes from truly understanding and accepting one another. Emily knew that the journey was just beginning, and she felt ready to face the future with James by her side, knowing that whatever challenges or surprises came their way, their love would guide them through. Emily woke the next morning to the soft light streaming through the tall windows of the mountain estate. The air smelled faintly of pine and fresh flowers, and the gentle sound of birdsong filled the room. For a moment she lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to absorb the reality of the life she had just discovered. The previous day's revelation, the hidden estate, the luxurious home, the wealth James had carefully kept secret, was still fresh in her mind. Her heart felt a mixture of amazement, relief, and a strange sense of disbelief. James stirred beside her, stretching lazily and smiling at her. "Good morning, Emily," he said softly, his voice calm and warm. "Did you sleep well?" Emily turned to him, a smile breaking across her face. "I did, though I think I'll need a little time to truly process everything," she admitted, laughing softly. He nodded understandingly. "I know it's a lot to take in. But I promise you, everything here is as real as the love I have for you. This house, the land, the history, they're all part of me, but they're also for us to share. Nothing changes who we are or what we've built together." Emily felt her heart swell. His words were genuine, comforting, and they reminded her why she had fallen in love with him in the first place. It wasn't the wealth, the charm, or even the mystery. It was James himself, the man who loved honestly, worked hard, and always treated her with respect. She realized that the estate, as incredible as it was, did not define him. It simply added another layer to the man she already admired and cherished. After breakfast, they decided to explore the estate more thoroughly. Emily's eyes sparkled with wonder as she walked through the rooms, each one filled with beautiful furniture, paintings, and artifacts that spoke of generations past. There was a library larger than the one in Willow Creek, with shelves stretching from floor to ceiling, filled with books on every subject imaginable. James explained that he had spent years collecting them, and he wanted Emily to feel free to explore and enjoy them as much as she wanted. "This is amazing," Emily whispered, running her fingers along the spines of the books. "I never imagined, it's beautiful, James." "I can hardly believe it," he smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "I wanted to wait until you were ready, Emily. I wanted you to see this world, but only when it was the right time. I didn't want anything to come between us, our love, our trust, our life together. And now it's yours too, if you want it." Emily felt a surge of emotion. She realized that everything James had done, the way he had lived simply in Willow Creek, the way he had hidden this estate, was meant to protect the authenticity of their relationship. He had chosen love over luxury, simplicity over opulence, and honesty over convenience. And for that, Emily felt a deep sense of admiration and gratitude. As the days passed, Emily gradually adjusted to this new reality. She and James began creating routines that blended the simple pleasures of their previous life with the comforts of the estate. Mornings were spent walking the gardens, caring for the smaller animals James kept near the house, or simply enjoying the quiet peace of the mountains. Afternoons were often filled with projects around the property, from planting flowers to restoring old furniture, while evenings were reserved for shared meals, laughter, and quiet conversations by the fireplace. Emily discovered that the estate was more than just a house. It was a place of freedom and creativity. She spent hours exploring the gardens, tending to the flowers, and learning about the plants that thrived in the mountainous soil. She even discovered a small studio where she could paint, something she had always wanted to do but never found the time. James encouraged her every step of the way, proud of her curiosity and her willingness to embrace this new life. The couple also began to open the estate in small ways to their friends and family. Emily's parents were invited to stay for a weekend, and their joy at seeing her so happy was evident in every smile and laugh. James shared the history of the estate, telling stories of his ancestors and the love and care that had gone into maintaining the property over the years. Emily felt a sense of pride and belonging, realizing that this life, so different from the simple ranch life she had known, was still built on the same foundations of love, trust, and connection. Despite the grandeur of the estate, Emily was relieved to find that James had not changed who he was. He remained the same patient, hardworking, and humble man she had fallen in love with. He still worked with his hands, cared deeply for the animals, and treated her with constant respect. The wealth and luxury were merely additions, not replacements, and that realization brought her a profound sense of peace. Over time, Emily also began to notice how the estate offered opportunities to give back to others. James explained that he had always wanted to use his resources to help those in need, whether by supporting local schools, helping neighbors in Willow Creek, or contributing to charitable causes. Emily was inspired by his generosity and joined him in these efforts, organizing small events, hosting gatherings, and creating programs that benefited the local community. Together, they discovered a sense of purpose beyond themselves, a way to use their blessings to make a positive impact on the lives of others. As the seasons changed, Emily found herself embracing the full spectrum of life at the estate. Winter brought snow-covered landscapes, perfect for cozy evenings by the fire, while spring filled the gardens with blooms and the air with the scent of new beginnings. Summer allowed for long hikes through the mountains, picnics in hidden valleys, and quiet moments by the streams that ran through the property. Fall painted the forests in brilliant reds and golds, creating a backdrop for reflective walks and thoughtful conversations. Every day felt like a new adventure, yet the stability of their love provided a sense of grounding and safety. One evening, as they sat on the terrace watching the sun set behind the mountains, Emily reflected on how far their journey had come. She had thought she knew James completely, had believed their life together was defined by modest means and hard work, and yet she had discovered a hidden world she had never imagined. But more importantly, she realized that none of it had changed the essence of their relationship. Love, trust, and mutual respect remained at the heart of everything they shared. "James," she said softly, leaning her head on his shoulder, "I have to admit I never expected any of this. The estate, the luxury, it's more than I could have imagined. And yet it doesn't change how I feel about you. If anything, it makes me admire you even more." He kissed the top of her head, his hand resting gently on hers. "Emily, I'm glad you feel that way. I wanted you to know the truth, but I also wanted to make sure our love was strong enough to handle it. And it is, because it's real, honest, and ours." Emily smiled, feeling a warmth in her chest that went beyond the comfort of the fire or the beauty of the mountains. She realized that life was full of surprises, that love could grow stronger when faced with truth, and that happiness could be found in both simplicity and abundance. She had married a man she thought was modest, only to discover a hidden world of wealth, and yet none of it mattered as much as the man he truly was. Days turned into weeks, and Emily grew more confident in her new life. She found joy in every corner of the estate, from the quiet library to the vibrant gardens, from the cozy kitchens to the terraces that overlooked endless mountain views. She and James continued to explore new hobbies together, host friends and family, and find ways to give back to their community. Their love deepened, strengthened by shared experiences, trust, and the knowledge that they could face any challenge together. One afternoon, Emily discovered a hidden trail that led deeper into the mountains. She invited James to join her, and together they hiked along the path, discovering a small waterfall and a secluded clearing filled with wildflowers. They laughed, shared stories, and talked about the dreams they had for the future. Emily felt a sense of freedom and wonder she had never experienced before, realizing that the world was vast and full of possibilities, and that with James by her side, she could embrace every adventure. Even the small mysteries that had once puzzled her, the letters, the gifts, and the trips James had taken, now made sense. They were part of the life he had carefully chosen, a life that balanced simplicity with abundance, privacy with generosity, and love with opportunity. Emily felt grateful for his thoughtfulness, and for the way he had protected the authenticity of their relationship, allowing their love to grow without distraction. As the sun set behind the mountains one evening, Emily and James stood together on the terrace, hand in hand, looking out at the vast landscape. The colors of the sky reflected in their eyes, and a gentle breeze carried the scent of flowers and pine. Emily felt a profound sense of gratitude and wonder, knowing that she had found not only love but a life that was richer and more fulfilling than she had ever imagined. James turned to her, a soft smile on his face. "Emily, thank you for trusting me, for loving me, and for sharing this journey with me. I know it hasn't always been easy, but I hope you see now that everything I've done has been for us, for our love, and for the life we can build together." Emily smiled back, her eyes shining with tears of happiness. "I do, James, I see it now, and I love you even more for it. Life with you, it's everything I could have ever hoped for and more." They embraced, feeling the warmth of their love and the peace of a life built on trust, honesty, and shared dreams. Emily realized that happiness was not about wealth or appearances. It was about connection, understanding, and the courage to embrace the unexpected. And with James by her side, she knew that their future was filled with endless possibilities, adventures, and the kind of love that could weather anything. The hidden mountain estate had revealed itself to her, not just as a place of luxury, but as a symbol of the depth of James's love, the strength of their bond, and the extraordinary life they could create together. Emily felt a sense of completion, a feeling that the journey they had begun together on the simple ranch had led them to something even more remarkable. She had thought she knew James completely, but now she understood that life, love, and happiness could hold surprises beyond imagination, and that the greatest treasure of all was the love they shared. And so, under the wide-open sky, surrounded by mountains, forests, and endless possibilities, Emily and James began their new life together. A life filled with love, trust, adventure, and the quiet knowledge that no matter what challenges or surprises came their way, they would face them together, stronger, happier, and more in love than ever before.